in writing with regards to my private pension, and would be obliged if you could offer some advice on management charges. On reaching 65 in May 2015, I had a meeting with my financial advisor with a view to investing my private pension, which amounted to just under £200,000. After discussing my finances in detail, the advisor suggested income drawdown, which I was quite happy with, and as I did not require the 25% tax-free lump sum, I invested the entire amount. During our meeting, I was advised the annual management charge would be 1.54%, which sounded reasonable, but after adding it up, it amounted to nearly £3,000 a year. My pension pot has gone down since I first invested it, so I've calculated that after 10 years I'll pay not far short of £25,000 in charges. With your experience, could you please advise if the management charges sound fair, and if not, are you able to suggest any alternatives? Tanya Jeffries, of This Is Money, replies, many people balk at the size of fees charged by financial advisors for investing a pension or helping with other money matters. Savers often opt to go it alone and run their own investments on a deemed website as a result. But unless you are already financially savvy, this can be a false economy, especially at retirement when there are a whole raft of different things to consider and decisions to make which could affect your finances for the rest of your life. This leaves many people with a dilemma. Why you don't know what you don't know about investing in retirement. But you won't find out unless you pay up. This Is Money editor Simon Lambert says forking out for financial advice on your pension is not just paying for something you could do yourself. Read his views on this here. If you do decide to use an advisor, it's worth being patient and painstaking about the process of choosing one. Ask for recommendations from people you trust, shop around and talk to several advisors, and always check a firm is regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority on its online register here. Be wary of any advisors that are vague about or gloss over charges, not readily translating their annual percentage fees into the pounds and pence equivalent for your particular investment portfolio, for example, before you decide to take up their services. We asked an independent financial advisor, Justin Madre, and the boss of advisor search site Unbiased, Karen Barrett, whether your experiences in the annual charge you were quoted sound like you have been dealt with fairly. Justin Madre, Director of Candid Financial Advice, replies, whether 1.54% is reasonable depends on what it includes. If this is the total of the advisor's annual charge, pension charges and underlying investment fund charges, then it's reasonable on £200,000, with a couple of provisos. The advisor should be providing a good level of ongoing service, and the funds are not low-cost index trackers. To help explain this, let's take a look at these various charges and consider what's fair. Financial advisors typically charge an annual percentage fee. or hourly rate for providing ongoing service. This should include a comprehensive review, at least annually, coupled with monitoring things and solving any ad hoc queries or issues you might have along the way. Whichever route is offered, what matters is the end cost in pounds and pence. I think up to around £1,500 a year is probably a fair fee for top-notch advice and service on a £200,000 pension in your situation, depending on how much help you require. Of course, if the advisor does not provide a good ongoing service, then any fee would arguably be too much. And for larger pensions, I would not expect an advisor's fee to rise proportionally, else it would soon become excessive, as many are. Pension charges can vary widely, and, depending on the pension provider, might also include underlying fund charges, which will otherwise be separate. Most pension firms charge an annual percentage fee, which should progressively reduce as the sum invested increases. Again, however the fee is charged, always convert to pounds and pence for comparison. Up to around £500 a year for a pension wrapper and income drawdown, which offers a wide investment choice, is fair. Finally, there's annual fund charges. It sensible to use a fund's ongoing charge figure, OCF, for comparison, as this include incidental costs ignored by annual management charge, AMC, figures. At one end of the scale, index tracking funds tend to charge between 0.07% and 0.30% a year, while at the other funds of funds, where you're paying two sets of funds managers, often cost over 1.30% a year. In the middle are conventional actively managed funds, which typically cost between 0.60% and 0.90% a year. There's no right or wrong between using index tracking or actively managed funds. Personally, I like a blend of the two, using trackers for mainstream exposure and actively managed funds that invest quite differently as a hedge. However, I am always skeptical when financial advisors recommend funds of funds, since they're reducing their workload by outsourcing investment selection, but seldom cut their own fee to compensate, leaving customers paying very high overall charges. Also check whether any of the funds have performance fees, as these can become excessive if there is no sensible cap. Even low charges will look large in pounds and pence when calculated over a long period of time. And, of course, choosing the cheapest index tracking funds will reduce costs. If you decide to go the DB route, then check whether your pension firm will accommodate this, as some require an advisor, and aim for a sensible spread of global investments covering stock markets, fixed interest and commercial property to help keep risk at a sensible level. Drawdown schemes themselves do charge annual management fees, and these can vary enormously from one provider to the next. But for a pot of £200,000, it should be perfectly possible to shop around and find a fund that charges around £500, £700 annually, and you'd expect to make far more than that in fund growth. If someone is charging £3,000 a year for a £200,000 pot, then you should ask what service you are receiving for that money, and why such a high fee is justified. This brings me back to the advice you received. Your advisor may or may not have been truly independent, but you should always check if this is so. And Financial Conduct Authority regulated independent advisor has a duty to find the best financial solution for you and the best value products for you from the whole of the market. The good news is that you still have options. While you didn't buy an annuity, which would have been irreversible, so are free to move your pension to a different arrangement. Your first step should be to find a genuine independent financial advisor who will look after your best interests. The unbiased website lists advisors who are whole of market and FCA regulated, so you can contact them in full confidence that they will give you truly unbiased advice.